Well, hello there. How are you? We are going to have one of our typical Tuesday nights tonight, mostly because most of us over here at Agora.Community are running around with our hair on fire, trying to prepare for, at least maybe that's just me, preparing for next weekend or this weekend. As some of you might know, we are hosting the second annual Ultimate Animation Challenge this weekend. So if you haven't heard, then you've probably been living under a rock. And if you have, hopefully you've actually signed up for said event, or at the very least blocked out some time in your calendar to hang out with us during the stream, because as usual, we'll have all kinds of great guests on for the, well, not for the full 24 hours. There is going to be a block of about 6 hours in the middle of our night in Eastern Standard Time. But other than that, it's pretty full. There's a pretty full slate. So pretty excited for all that. So let's bring in David. We'll probably talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get this little party typically started. Hello, David.
Hey, Brent. So that's what happened to your hair.
Yeah, I knew. As soon as I said it, I'm like, he's going to make a poke in my hair. I'm like, why do I set him up like that? It's like a friggin' perfect setup.
I was also almost tempted not to do it. I was like, there's a catch. There's a reason why if it's a trap, I'm going to fail.
That's right. Yeah, no, not a trap. Just weak defense on my part is really what it comes down to. Yeah. Lots of things going on right now. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty epic event as well. I mean, after last year, like, hey, let's do that again. Let's see if we can bring another great lineup of guests. And yeah, that's going to be
just pretty exactly. It's going to be crazy. There's only
awesome. When we get to the point that out of 26 hours, we almost feel guilty of but there's like 6 hours of pre-recorded content in the middle of the night because because sleep.
I know sleep is apparently necessary. But yeah, it's cool too because it's there's a couple people that made an appearance I think last year in some forms, like Jorge. He's coming back. He was on a panel last year. This time he's coming back for a half an hour segment to talk a little bit about a specific thing that is very important to him and his culture over at Animal Warrior. So but for the most part, it's mostly like brand new, fresh faces. Some of them you might have seen in conversation with. That's for sure true. But definitely as far as the 24-hour challenge is concerned. And we try to mix it up a bit too. Last year was a lot of conversations. We did have a couple panels, but this year we try to have a bunch of demos and some live reviews mixed in there as well. We have prizes. So speaking of prizes, I've been feverishly trying to make good on many promises I've been building up for about 2 years now and trying to make the streams a bit more interactive. So I'm going to be, with much help from the stream team, as Veronica calls it. We need to get them t-shirts to say that. we are going to be running some fun raffles and giveaways during the stream. So if you are watching the stream, then there's a good chance you don't even have to be participating to win some stuff. We have a bunch of cool prizes that we're going to be able to give away, so that'll be fun too, which we didn't really do last year. So that'll be cool to do that.
And even when you look at the list of prize for the winners of the I don't even remember what we had last year other than this amazing, I don't know, can we talk about the trophy, or
we can. I can even do,
or
if
you
want.
Going to tease us with a little?
I'm gonna tease. So I got something over here. It's in pieces right now because I'm trying to figure out how to package it up, because here's the ultimate trophy update. So this has been quite the funny, hilarious, more like a circus story that is the ultimate trophy. So as some of you know, and especially those who were involved in last year's event, the winner for the solo category, we had this idea, the promise of this cool trophy, and the trophy would be custom. It was my stupid idea. I still think it's a good idea, but as David will probably point out, it was
an amazing idea. It's going to make a story that we're going to recount to our kids.
We're just going to milk it. Yes, yes, exactly. I have a tendency of having a lot of ideas. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible, but the problem is I have a lot of them, and as David will point out, I don't have time for all of them, and I don't always figure that out. And so I always have the best intentions, but I get too excited. And so anyways, what happened was we did involve a bunch of people, and it was working out pretty well, but it turned out to be challenging because of what we wanted to do. And then my laser cutter, it broke, and then it was just chaos. And then the summer was crazy. And next thing you know, it's like we were months away from February, and we're like, so Brent, about that trophy. I'm like, yeah. I emailed David the winner, David Kuvas. I can never pronounce his last name. He was being super patient. He's awesome. He lives down in South America. And, I sent him some pics at least, so he knows that I wasn't just talking out of my ass. Anyways, long story short, David and I decided, well, screw it. Like, we're so close to the new one. Let's just turn it into some fun thing that we can do at the event and have like a proper, unveiling and a proper almost ceremony for David, because he's waited so long. Turns out that David won't be able to make it live, but I'll still do something early on in the stream. So if you want to see the final version, then please do show up at the very beginning of the stream. But I will give you a quick little tease. Close your eyes.
Ooh.
So this is one piece of it. It's obviously much more complicated than this, but this is a piece of it. It is a nice little acrylic piece that does look like the Agora logo. And as you can see, it does look pretty nice and pretty professional, but you'll have to wait for the rest. It is pretty awesome. Let's just say that we did make good on the promise. David's seen the work in progress. It's actually pretty cool. We're actually to be truthfully honest, we're actually terrified to put it in the mail, because with all this effort and this legacy behind it, we're worried that it's just going to go missing, and it'll be like, which would be the perfect ending, of course, to the saga. But
yes.
So yeah. Anyways. There's a bunch of parts, because what the plan was to essentially assemble something. For those who remember, it was essentially what we wanted to do is to try to immortalize a moment in David's animation from that. And had this character was swinging from planets, and he was kind of see-through, and he was hanging off the Saturn, and like it was hurtling over the Earth. And so I kind of whipped up a design that I thought could be really interesting, and I involved somebody who had a lot of experience printing with resin, but we wanted to print it with like a clear resin, and then that was like a disaster because it was very difficult to make it look see-through. But anyway, we got something. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So stay tuned.
So that was the main prize that we had last
That was the main one. Yes.
This year was like, okay, let's go with a lot more. And when you look at the list, it's almost ridiculous, the amount of stuff.
Yeah, it is. I think we're overcompensating for my own guilt and my own shame. But hey, you know what? Better late than never. That's what I always say. Yeah. I have to say that because I'm always late.
At the end of the day, we'll have a pretty cool trophy and a story to tell.
That's right. So that's right. Exactly. We will. It's now part of Agora legend, basically, is what it is. Written into the history books.
But I think that we're almost at 200 teams that already.
That's crazy.
That already signed up.
That's right.
This is actually the numbers that we had last year, just before.
Literally
the challenge started.
Do we have data on how what that looked like, the enrollment? Did we get a huge spike right before? I never saw those numbers. Like, I'm curious as to, like, do we expect to see a whole pouring in at the very last minute? Do people go, screw it, let's just sign up?
I think that last year was pretty consistent. I mean, you had a big bump of the announcement, and then it just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe 300 teams is not unrealistic at this point.
That's crazy because consider, right? That's teams. So
that's teams.
Singles,
there are some
duels,
teams that are 3 animators, other teams are 2 animators.
That's right.
So that's going to make a lot of animation to review for the judges.
That's going to be epic
afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, another quick note, something we wanted to try, and I believe that Veronica's already reached out on this, but so an experiment that we wanted to try was to even, we're going to try to do a lot more live reporting in the sort of the fields and the trenches as everyone's animating. So we'll be tapping people here and there. Don't be sad if we don't tap you. It's because there's obviously so many teams. So we're going to try to pick ones that seem like they were good ones to bring on the show and people that feel comfortable doing it. But there's another thing that we'll be doing is trying to, if you're interested in live streaming your the whole event, if you have a Twitch account, then by all means let Veronica know. I believe she sent out emails to this effect. So that would be pretty cool, because we're looking to try to do something this year where we can actually have a bunch of these live streams on a page, so that we can people want to check out how people are doing. It'll be like almost like a security camera feed of a bunch of, essentially feel like you're spying on a bunch of people, which is really the real reason we're doing it, because we love spying on people. But I'm excited by that. I like the idea of going to a website and just seeing all this energy pouring into these unique creations that everyone's doing. Like I'm still completely shocked at the quality that we got last year. Like 24 hours is not a long time. It is not a long time. And some people put together these immaculate things that I'm like, how is it even possible? So I'm excited to see what happens this year.
Yeah, and just the level of creativity as well. That is even for me even more impressive than the quality that you can have in 24 hours. Is that's how just 3 words can send different creators in completely different direction.
Completely different directions. And like, some of those ideas were so good that David and I, like all of us, were talking like, some of these are like marketable ideas. Like, this would be something that could be turned very easily into a little web series, and people would eat this up because it's just good. It's gold. So I guess it just happens. You put a bunch of creative people in a room, and you crank up the pressure a little bit, and just sometimes miracles happen. And that's what we saw last year. So we're excited to see what happens again this year. So. Okay, well, let's see. Where do we start tonight? I guess, do we have any so on all those things? Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone want to poke fun at my my disastrous trophy saga? Does anybody have anything they want to say before I dig into the archives? Anybody?
I have a question for you, Brent. What happened to the wall behind you where all the books and the shelves?
It's so funny. So yes, well, I've been teasing this slowly, and it's funny because my camera will probably slowly continue to turn a little bit. There's been a lot of work going on here. That's why often there's just garbage everywhere, because I'm like tearing things and moving things around. It's been hard to fit in with all the other stuff. But Christine came out here the other day. She goes, I didn't even know you had a wall back there. Like, I mean, since we moved in, I don't think I've seen that wall. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's a wall. So, I'm doing some stuff back here. I'm going to try to get it all ready for the stream for a little bit of an unveiling, but I'm trying to make it interesting in here. But yeah, do you like it? Now it's like, it's a bit more, it's still a mess over here. That'll get fixed. But
yeah, it's a work in progress. It is. I'm looking forward to see whatever happens there.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't want to talk it up too much. Otherwise it'll just be too much hype. All right. Let's see. What do we got?
Let's see.
You saw one of my reviews. It was a completely different angle than this. Oh yeah. What angle was it? I haven't done. Well, yes. I used to do. If it was an old review, I used to have a camera right over here, and it was looking directly at the triangle panels I have here. These Nanoleaf panels, and it was. I felt like it was a lot closer. It had a very different feel to it. This one is a bit more convenient. I kind of set it up so like the cameras, I actually put a gap between the two monitors. It used to be over top of a monitor over here, and it always felt like it was like looking down on me too much. Now I feel like I can look directly into the lens, which I feel like a little bit more personal. I'm thinking maybe even make it a little closer to make it more like David, because the closer I get, obviously the better the depth of field is going to be. Like I get like this, and then it's just a great background. Of course, you can also see if I have nose hairs. It's convenient for that as well. You can let me know in chat.
No, I saw what you guys are seeing with my face that big. So I'm going to change this lens right there. It's a little disturbing.
Hey, man. Hey. What's the lens on yours, though? What are you using?
35.
A 35. Okay.
So it's pretty, I'm thinking of maybe a 25.
And it's
not
full frame. Yeah, okay.
Not full frame.
Yeah.
So that's the equivalent of 50-ish, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Mine's actually a 16 millimeter, but also not full frame. So it's more like a 35, more like in the ballpark, maybe 28.
Now we're going into super geek territory pretty rapidly.
That's where I like to live. That's where we like to live. Welcome. Come with us just for a little stroll down, Nerd Avenue.
By the way, I see some comments in chat that are coming from LinkedIn. This is the first time.
Oh, it's official. Look at that.
Anyone
LinkedIn user. I would love to work for Agora Studio. So inspiring. King. Well, that's interesting. Why is it just some user? Interesting.
I don't know. It's the first time I saw the little LinkedIn icon. So
hello,
welcome,
LinkedIn user. Yeah.
LinkedIn
welcome
user.
To the party.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've been streaming to LinkedIn for a while now, and this is, I think, the first night I've ever seen that as well. That's interesting. Well, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Scott's in there though. Look, I see Scott's little logo in there. He's also fielding the questions directly on the ground in LinkedIn. Okay.
All right. Let's see. Do we have anything in the backlog?
I'm looking. I'm going to make sure that we. I'm going to leave the juicy one that's been advertised until about midstream. Scott gave me a pat on the back for doing that last time, and I'm all about getting pats on the back. So we can see if I could get that again, and we'll do this one for now.
And this one
right here. Oops, sorry, I have to click on it still. There it is. Okay, so this one comes up a lot, and we will do a pretty quick job on this one. The short answer is absolutely not. You do not need it.
3D animator.
Yeah, so I forgot to read it out loud. Should I know how to draw to become a 3D animator? This is one of those things where you have to understand that people that know how to draw it's not that they know how to draw that makes them somehow better. Scott, too late, Scott. I'm already in. Scott's like, he wasn't going to keep this on the list. It's too late. I'm already committed. The idea is that it's not the drawing part that I think is important. I think it's the fact that you have to know how to draw means that your brain is good at observing and then sort of transcribing. And I think that is the same common thing that an animator needs to do. It's just that the output is different. If a 3D animator is just trying to understand and observe and then recreate that moment on a rig, which is more like almost like modifying a sculpture or a puppet. So the drawing part is not really the thing. It's more the peripheral skills that come with drawing that makes you better at. So you can learn those things, in my opinion, without drawing, but you need to like hone it. Like I often talk to a lot of animators that are learning how to animate, and I'm like, look, one thing you need to really spend some time learning, almost as a side gig, is just what a good pose looks like. What's a good line of action? I think we had somebody on last year's 24-hour challenge. I don't know why I always forget his name. Mike Matesi, the author behind all the Force books. He has this concept called the leading edge, which I think is a really interesting concept. It kind of falls into that sort of what is a good silhouette and a good line of action territory. All these things are just things that you're not necessarily going to learn in an animation class. You kind of pick it up naturally, but I think that thing you have to know when you're drawing. And so naturally, people that can draw just know these things by default.
Yeah. To me, that's something. I mean, I got into 3D with no very strong skills of drawing. I always wanted to develop those skills, but I started to do a lot of different things, so I never took the time to properly learn how to draw. Definitely went to a few like figure drawing and all that. So just to know the basic, I was able to scribble a little But yeah, drawing it, I would say, for anatomy and silhouette and posing is definitely something. It's almost this muscle, this brain muscle that you develop of being able to rapidly. And the result was that I always struggled to have nice posing with silhouette. I mean, I was achieving it, but it was just taking me like 15 minutes, as someone else would do it like in 2 minutes. So my blocking were taking forever to and then I compensated by being super fast into the more spline and polishing phase. So, but there's some animators that will never be technical, and they will always be slowed down because they're not able to comprehend what is the problem with the rig. They're not always have difficulty to export their work. There's some animators that don't have great social skills, so they don't have the ability to learn from others and get their message across. There's animators that are terrible with timing, for instance, so they're often their action feels a little bit. Others that have a harder time to visualize and understand physics, which means that there's nice poses, but it always feel a little bit weightless. Drawing is one of the many skills that you should try to develop as an animator. But you can definitely have a successful story, a successful career without it.
Yeah. I think if you talk to Wayne Gilbert, who will be making an appearance at the 24-hour challenge, he's towards the tail end. He will probably say that it would be really smart to at least, because you don't have to look, they don't have to look great, but his opinion is you can plan your animation much quicker and more efficiently by just doing doodles, just quick basic concepts that kind of plan out. And just, it forces you to it's like what previs is for film, right? Just by going through the motions and trying some ideas in a very prototypey way is going to make you aware of problems before you end up investing too much time in it. So this is, I think, his point from the very beginning is hey, just, it can't hurt. You don't have to, those drawings don't have to be released to the public. They're for you. It's for your planning. It's for your mental process. So I think people, he encourages people to give it a shot because it's really not, it's not rocket science, and it doesn't have to look pretty in the end if it can help you.
And especially for, visual communication, when you're a supervisor, to be able just to draw on top of a pose, it's so, it's such an efficient tool to very rapidly communicate, okay, what doesn't work with this part of the body, what doesn't work with the appeal. Appeal is another of those terms that can feel a little bit esoteric. It's make it more appealing. Tell that to a junior. Okay. I mean, you just, it's just the worst. They have no idea. But usually with drawing, you're able, here's an appealing facial expression.
Exactly.
Okay. I see right now what you're talking about.
Yeah. Appeal is a tricky one. Whenever I'm going over the 12 animation principles, that's the one I tend to spend a little bit of extra time on, because I think it needs a little bit of clarity, because most people don't know what the hell that means. Often I've said the truth to good appeal, in my opinion, is knowing all the other 11 principles well enough in a way that they combine, create something that feels appealing, but it requires also this added little dash of something, and that dash is unique to every individual animator. It's putting something of your own idea, your own self, your own character, your own sense of humor into the shot or into the animation, so that it becomes unique and yours. That is also theoretically appealing. A little harder to do. It's if for some people, because they haven't really found that voice, that creative voice inside them yet. So sometimes it takes a little while. So I tell people to focus on, at least know all the other ingredients well enough and make sure they're all in there. That's a really good step in the direction of making something feel appealing. Because even just really just pushing any one of those ingredients in pretty far, like exaggeration, for instance, can be enough to make something feel appealing. But you kind of, it can be a little tricky. It's some people are just naturally good at color coordination, and other people are just terrible at it. So it's one of those things, that's a strength that some people have. So that if they play into that and lean into that, they can generate appeal, basically. So what's your thing? What's your thing that you feel good at?
Yeah, appeal. I mean, to me, it's just to be pleasing to the eyes, and that's super subjective. But I agree with you. It's just when you're able to properly apply all of the other rules. So you have something that is not uncanny is the other side of the spectrum. You don't understand the rules, and the computer is just going to do what computer does with it, which is like they're going to give you what you're asking for them.
That's right.
Which can result may vary if you don't know. So know all the rules, apply them properly, and then once they're all applied, do something that is pleasing to the eye. And appealing doesn't mean beautiful. You can have very crooked, ugly characters, but the way that they're structured and just their facial expression can totally be appealing. So that would be interesting to have a roundtable conversation with.
I want everyone to check out. Someone just followed us. Thank you, by the way. Sorcroc98. Theoretically, if all goes well and IFTT does its job, my lights will flash on and off orange in a moment. So
what?
Yeah. I don't know. It seems unfortunately delayed enough that it makes it not as impressive, but it's still, it's kind of fun. So we'll see how.
Well, now you announce it. You could have waited after it's actually working.
Yeah, that's true. I could have just not said anything, because now everyone's like, "Okay, is it going to happen? Brent, does he know what he's doing?" We'll see. Yeah. It's already. The other day I was in here and I'm just working away, and it's weird that people end up following. Because discoverability on Twitch is difficult. So I've noticed some people just following us when we're not streaming, and I don't know how. Maybe it's because they got a link and then they checked out a couple of the old videos. They're like, oh man, I want to follow so I can see them next time they're live. And it's just in the middle of the day, I'm at work and then my lights are flashing orange. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, that's right. I forgot I'd set that up.
So the weird part is that now it's my lamp that actually went off and back on, but it's not connected to anything.
How did I do that?
That scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I got another question for us. Let's see here. How about this one? I feel like we touched on this a long time ago, but we haven't talked about it in a long time, so it could be fun to discuss quickly this particular question. What exactly is the relationship between Agora Studio and Agora.Community? Are they the same thing? Or are they different? Like, what the hell's going
on? To put it simply, Agora.Community is costing us money, and Agora Studio is providing this money to run everything.
Definitely one way to put it. Yeah.
It's definitely so. Yes, there's a link there. Agora Studio is a virtual studio that is mainly providing services to other animation studio, but game development, VFX studio as well. Agora.Community is kind of the community / education side project that we created with Brent and others, and we're like, okay, well, Agora Studio is definitely going to be heavily involved, but it's not really the same thing. So let's just create two different name for that, and two different branding as well. Branding is always important because Agora Studio is a is a mercantile studio that is basically a business that is generating income. As the Agora.Community side, it's more this purest form of paying it forward, and who knows, maybe one day we'll find a way to generate profits for it. But for now, it's more like, okay, let's build a community, let's do those weekly stream, let's create an event that is free for everyone, and we're going to provide a bunch of prize. Let's create all of this content and provide it for free in the library of Agora.Community. Let's develop this system where we have a few experts that people can at pretty affordably purchase their time, like 15 or 30 minutes, to have feedback on their work. So yeah, I would say it's kind of part of the same family, but it's the little cousin on the side that is less about providing services to big studio and more about the community itself. We often thought about that. If Agora Studio is the factory in town, Agora.Community is kind of the village that is growing around it, and kind of benefit a little bit of the factory that is there.
Well, but they both benefit of them, one another. Yeah,
exactly. They both benefit from each other, but at the same time, they could both be completely separated, and they would both work as well. So
except the Agora Studios sponsorship does help make things run here. That's definitely
we would need to find another solution for this part. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's true. Like the Agora Studio is like the commercially facing entity, and you can think of the Agora community as the sort of public facing entity. And there is overlap. I mean, one of the many overlaps is the fact that a lot of the staff at Agora Studio end up helping out. Like Marco, for instance, he's one of the animation supervisors at Agora Studio, and he's also the one doing the learning path for the quadrupeds. So, and we're going to see a lot more of that this year. Because we're going to be pushing hard on more learning paths, and we're going to be trying to tap into that sort of very experienced set of Agora staff members, and see if I can try to sponge some of that time and experience off of their brains and turn it into something that everyone can learn from. So there's another example.
We definitely feel that with Agora community we can definitely experiment, play around, try stuff. And I mean, for a while we talked about, hey, maybe that could be cool eventually to do a little communal short film that, okay, we provide a character, we provide the rigs. Let's say we brainstorm a little bit about the idea. Here's everything. Who's interested to participate? And a little bit like we did last year with the anime challenge with the little cowboy character. We're going to assemble all of this at the end. That's going to create a little piece of entertainment. We're going to share it for free on all platforms, and everyone who contributed are going to have their name at the end. And this is stuff that they can use in their show reel for sure. So this kind of experiment that we'd like to do more and more, that is more complicated when you're focused on running a business that is providing services to studio with the contractual agreement, with the NDA, and all this boring, complicated stuff that gets in the way. So that's why when you say Agora community is more of the simple, purest form of that, this is the place that we can do basically whatever we want to do with that.
And there's a symbiotic relationship there as well, too. Like if you think about it, like I love your factory village analogy because it makes sense. The two benefit, like if in a real world sense, the factory benefits from the village because the village provides labor and customers of whatever that factory is making, like, you know what I mean? And then the villagers, they actually benefit from the economic, the learning, just being around that industry, and there's all this overlap, between the two. So I think that's the thing that always fascinates me is how, if you're in the business like Agora Studio is, when it comes to providing animation services, digital services, digital art services to a vast number of different clients, and you're doing that through crowdsourcing that talent pool from all over the world, which is what Agora Studio does. Agora Studio has a vested interest in making sure that base of people that could be potentially sourced as talent, you have a vested interest in raising the quality of their understanding and their experience. So because the ideal case is that every once in a while we'll end up with people that started in the community, learn from the community, ended up actually working for a studio or for Agora Studio. This has actually already happened. So
Yeah, if we push the analogy of the factory in the village, it's almost like there was nothing. A factory arrived, and with a few workers there, which kind of settle, and the little village is growing. And yes, there's animators that we've been employing now for more than 2 years that we discovered in the Anime Challenge, which is one of the other initiatives for that. I mean, one of the guests that we had on a conversation with Dave Mullins, we're still discussing about potential collaboration that we could do with them. And I know that there's some artists that we hired that knew about Agora through Agora community and filled the application. And then it takes time, but there's a little bit of the symbiotic relationship that is going on. And it's a little bit of the same. When we started Agora Studio, it was this philosophy of, okay, there's studio on one side that struggle to find talent, and there's super talented artists on the other side that would be very happy to be working from home, like full time. And again, you have to go back 7 years ago when that we started Agora
very
Studio.
novel.
Working from home was not mainstream at all. there was it was the very early age. So to say that, oh yeah, we're going to create this, to be part of this revolution of, okay, we can all work from home, sometime on site, but especially new parents, family, and all of that, you don't want to have to travel anymore, don't be stuck in traffic and all that, you can do it. So it was really this idea of, okay, how can we help to connect the studio and the freelancers, because both of them are there, both of them don't know that the other side exists, and there's no like mechanism in the middle to make it easy for both sides. And not just a casting agency, something that takes care of, a studio that takes care of all the contractual agreement, all of the NDA, all of the administration, the tools that are provided, basically the mechanism that make it easy for both sides. So the idea with Agora.Community was, hey, can we do the same thing, but instead of being, B2C, like so from a business to individual, then peer-to-peer, like between individuals. So we have this upcoming artist that would really benefit from this veteran, but this veteran is not necessarily a teacher in a school because he doesn't have time. But he would be willing to provide 1 hour of his time to provide a few reviews. So let's create a system where those two can find each other and try to make it easy to.
Because otherwise,
that was kind of the same philosophy.
Yeah, and because think about that for a second, like that otherwise that would have been untapped knowledge. That knowledge would just sit there idle with a desire and a will to actually share that knowledge, but because it's, they don't live anywhere close to a school, or they don't have time to build a YouTube page. Like not everyone's a Sir Wade or an Ilse or a JD Haas. Like not everyone has that kind of drive to do that. Most people don't, right? And and what we're doing is looking for those people who don't have the ability or the time, but have the will. And all we try to do is bridge that. So now we're essentially trying to connect people. That's basically the heart of what we were trying to do here, which is funny because that was at the heart of what Agora Studio was doing from the beginning too. Connecting studios to talent. Now we're actually connecting knowledge to people who want it. Yeah. And there's an interesting overlap that lives in the middle.
Yeah, and there was also a recognition that, and that's a struggle because I've been very closely tied with iAnimate for 10 years now, and there's been always this struggle that many schools had that, all of our rigs end up being on, like stolen and they are on servers. All of our lecture are stolen and they are all over the place. And that created a lot of frustration at first. And eventually it was like, well, it is what it is. Everything that you're going to put on the internet at some point is going to become available, no matter the password, no matter what you try to do, is going to get, even if it's a bootleg, a phone that is going to is going to find its way. So that's why knowledge is very important, but the value of knowledge is getting close to zero, because you can basically have access to any knowledge anywhere. So the question then is, okay, well, what still has value?
What is valuable?
Well, what is valuable and what is still valuable is people's time. If you have a veteran that has 20 years of experience that is taking 15 minutes of his time one-on-one live to answer your question and tell you exactly what you should do with your own animation, this has value. So that was part of the beginning of the idea. You know what? Let's create all of this content. Let's all provide it for free to everyone. And then maybe that's going to lead to, hey, that's a great video from Marco Folkley. Yeah, I'm wondering if he could provide me some feedback on my animation. Oh yeah, I can just click here. And for $30, I'm going to have his review instead of, and online school, not that expensive. I mean, compared to brick and mortar school, but it's still a $1,500, $2,000 investment. That it's not everyone in every country that are able to afford. So hopefully maybe those bite size, let's take all of this for free, all the rigs, all the assignment, everything. But when you need some guidance from someone, the time of that person has value. So now we create a simple system to bring that.
Like it's Scott trying to stir the pot. Do you worry you'll tick off the online schools out there and make some enemies, is the question.
I think it's a pretty big ocean, and I mean it's it's always good to look at history to see, and what happened when Animation Mentor started. Did all the brick and mortar school were angry? I don't think so. Maybe the bad ones, and yes, there's probably a few bad ones that had less and less students
for sure,
but all of the good animation school that were there 15 years ago when Animation Mentor started, they're still around today, and they're doing fine.
That's exactly
even if a good. That's the beauty of being in a industry that is growing exponentially. Even if 40% of all the education in animation went online, there was an even bigger growth at large with the number of students. So all of those schools are still doing well. And I would say probably some of those schools actually said, you know what, we're going to either partnership or take some of those recording or find a way to whatever Animation Mentor is using, we're going to leverage this and we're going to use it to improve our own class. Like any online school or brick and mortar school could do exactly the same with everything that we're providing for free. They can take it, thank you very much, and we're now going to incorporate it into our own program, and that's going to make us better than the competition.
That's right.
So you always make friends and enemy when you kind of create something new, but that's the least of our concern, because those that are clever are going to find a way to either use whatever we're doing or partnership or find a way to make it complementary with whatever they're providing.
Yeah. And I mean, my perspective here, just remember what David said at the beginning here. He said, like, what's valuable? What's the value in that? I don't think we have, what we're doing is not revolutionary in any stretch. We just zeroed in on specifically what's valuable and made that as accessible as possible. But people that are still going to go to online schools are going to go because they want to get taught by people like Bobby Beck. They want to get taught by these big friggin' names in the business that have been teaching for a long time that are superstars in the industry. That's still going to be a thing. So what you're doing, David and I believe that when you pay, a couple $1,000s to go to these classes, that's what you're buying. You're buying time with these people. The knowledge is really just like, that's something that if you really took the time, you could have collected on your own for sure, because it's all out there. What you're really getting are those reviews, those times where you're having those one-on-one sessions and you're able to pick that person's brain for what you could be doing better. And that's, so you're still getting that. So just because there's still value there, is still going to be a thing. And it's regular too. The other thing about online schools, we never made this as some sort of replacement. That was never that. We never positioned ourselves like this. We were trying to kind of be somewhere in the middle, like this thing that catches people that don't have the money or time to go to school. That's the kind of people we would want to be probably attracting, or people that just came out of school and they just want to kind of freshen up their demo reel. They don't want to go back to school just to get advice. They just need half an hour of someone's time that they don't actually have access to. They don't want to go to spend thousands of dollars to go to a 12, 15 week class. No, they just want, can I just have someone's time right now? So we're going to be doubling down on this. I know I've been saying this for a while, but I think this is the year we're actually going to finally start doing it, is expanding it beyond just the reviews. We always wanted to make them a bit more interactive. So we want to make live reviews as something you can actually book. We wanted to do maybe even these, what David calls them. I think you were calling them pseudo mentoring or something like that. What did you call it? Mentor. You had a term for it the other day. It was like
the micro mentoring.
Micro mentoring, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like in
other mentorship, but for like 15 minutes. Because that's a request we had. Some people like, hey, I don't have anything to review, but can I purchase 15 minutes of Jacob Gardner's time?
Exactly.
And like,
just to pick the brain.
Do whatever you want with this 15 minutes. Go crazy. Yeah. Ask all of your questions.
Absolutely, because I mean, why not, right? Like, why not do that? It's like you see all these things that are popping up all over the place, like Cameo, and there's a bunch of other clones that are like this. These are services that that celebrities are on, and they can actually do like a kind of a personalized birthday greeting to your buddy or your mom or your boyfriend or whatever it might be. It's like you're doing this fun thing. Like, so if your mom's favorite actor is so-and-so, you get them to do a shout out, right? Then you get this video for it. I mean, that's just, if you think about it, it's funny and it's cool, but it's not really valuable. I mean, it is, I guess, in some people's eyes, but what we think of it, it's in a similar way. It's about making that connection real, but a valuable one, because it's all about knowledge exchange, something that can actually help you on your career, because you might just be stuck. Maybe you're just looking for inspiration. Maybe you're just like lonely and you want someone to like tell you that's going to be okay, and that you want, that it's going to just do these things and you're going to get right back on the horse probably, because you're having one of those moments where you're just stuck creatively. Like, who knows what it might be? Just like I'd like to think of it as like a creative lifeline, basically.
Yeah,
is what we want to try to do. But
yeah, and I think that's going to create another option for, because more and more we're just we're not just an animator. We're animate, but we can teach a little bit on the side, and we participate to this project, and we do a lot of different thing. And something that we discussed recently is just the branding, that more and more since everyone has access to everything, those that stands out or those that can brand themselves. So whether I'm thinking like RV Newman, for instance, that creates all of those video. Obviously you mentioned Sir Wade and GDS and Ilse among others. Some are just creating this so amazing student showreel that it just goes viral and everyone. So branding, there are some mini personalities in our super small niche world that is animation that's going to start to be known. And in the reviews that we had Sir Wade in the beginning that was providing reviews, and even himself, you will argue that he's not the strongest animator. I mean, he spent most of a good portion of his career to be an instructor at DreamWorks for the new animators that were coming in. He's been a lot of freelancing on the side. I mean, he's a good animator, but he's not a top level 20 years of experience supervisor at a big studio. But he was still probably the one that was receiving the most requests for reviews. Why? Because he was known. People knew
he's
him.
Approachable. He knows how to communicate, and he's got a brand. Exactly.
Yeah, people know his name, so like, oh yeah, it's the guy from the video. All right, I want a review from him. So hopefully, with this kind of service, you'll have more and more animators that will see an even more value into branding themselves and becoming known, because now, and on top of that, you can kind of sell your time, how many hours per week. Okay, you want to do this 3 hours per week. All right, well, here's a system that's going to handle everything for you.
And don't think that we're saying you need to become a YouTube star to be branded. I mean, it could just be as much as like just making regular posts on LinkedIn with some work that you're doing, or some, hey, I saw this video. I saw the making of Arcane. So I did a couple animation tests that I feel like are trying to emulate that. This is the kind of stuff that it all takes is to touch a hot topic, and be a part of that conversation and put yourself out there, is sometimes all it takes to get suddenly a lot of people taking notice, and that can spiral. They can snowball crazy and quickly. And if you know how to, if you're willing to ride that wave, you could find yourself in a whole other stratosphere of options that are being, rather than you knocking down doors, people are actually chasing you down because they want a piece of that, because they noticed you. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise, how were they supposed to find you before? Like, it's an ocean of people, but sometimes the bright shining stars don't want to get noticed, right? So
yeah, especially as all of this can be done in remote. You don't have to physically travel to a place to another. So, and this is something that Agora Studio is dealing on a daily basis. Some of our top performers, we know that for every project, they already have 6 offers on the table. They never have to look for work ever again in their career. Now, for newcomers, it can look like a steep. So yeah, it's a couple years. It's a lot of work. And when I said a lot of work, it doesn't mean that it needs to be more than 40 hours a week, but it's a lot of, you need to work on your craft and be serious and not, just scroll for 6 hours a day.
It's not a free ride, that's for sure.
But when you get there, it's something that just 10 years ago was unimaginable to have. That many animators that don't have a need to look for work ever again. All of those opportunities are coming their way, and then they can decide, well, I'm going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. The industry is changing very, very rapidly. And
it is.
It was already changing rapidly in the last 2 years. It was just like, okay, now where we were already, we felt a little bit ahead of the curve, and even us were like, wow, this is going way faster than we thought that it would.
Exactly, because there's a lot of things going on at the same time. The pandemic changed all of the rules, first of all. Second of all, like, social media is just like, it feels like it reinvents itself every month now. Like, I mean, YouTube is even old news when you compare it to TikTok, and now you have Facebook and YouTube trying to emulate them by having like their shorts and their stories. But I mean, TikTok is still the one winning that prize. So when you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh man, like, how am I going to get noticed when there's all these, like, it's like, you got to take a step back and recognize trends. You got to take a step back and recognize opportunities and do something that other people aren't doing. I still haven't seen myself, I haven't come across, and I spend more time on TikTok than I should care to admit, but I think it was David. By the way, it's David's fault. He was the one that led me. I didn't even know what TikTok was until he's like, "Hey, have you seen this TikTok thing?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" Next thing you know, I'm like, "Oh my God, it's stuff. I can't stop watching it." He's like, "It's something about it's just so, it's so appealing." I'm like, "What do you? This sounds dumb." And now I can't stop. Anyways, the idea here is that I haven't seen yet any kind of like animation like personality on there doing like really cool. Like I know they exist because I've heard about like tips and tricks. I even know I think Frame by Frame is doing some. That a couple of them have actually kind of exploded a little bit from what I heard. But like it's an untapped market for marketing yourself, and just by saying you have a TikTok account, you're putting yourself out there is enough to get people's attention, because you can actually put that right on your friggin' resume and be like, I got a TikTok account that I do a lot of cool tips and tricks. Check it out. It's like that's got more value in a way, because now you're like a communicator. You're not just an animator who can animate. You're an animator who knows how to actually, put together a package of presentation and put it out there. And that's valuable to a company. That's secondary to, and sometimes even more important than your ability to animate.
Yeah. For those that have the natural talent of putting themselves out there and, just being comfortable with all of this content creation, social media, and all that. It's pretty crazy how rapidly from someone out of school to like 3 months ago. And I remember that at some point I received a show reel. I think that the same day 3 different people sent me the same show reel, and it was from a student, because it was so well thought out, so original.
Yeah.
And hey, would you be interested to? And next thing you know, I talk about the students to another studio, and they already got her. So anyway,
that's right.
It just shows how like a rapid fire it's taking off these days.
Ilse, when she was on the stream, by the way, Ilse is making a reappearance on our 24-hour challenge. For those who might be fans of Ilse, she can be doing a little bit of an acting for animators workshop, which I'm pretty excited by. When she was on our stream a long time ago in conversation with, she talked a bit about just LinkedIn, the untapped potential of LinkedIn. And she's really right. Like, I think all of us kind of feel that deep down somewhere, but we're like, you should probably spend a bit more time building my profile out and doing something with it. But it's true though. I've been lately spending more time on LinkedIn, which I think is where you discovered that person you were just talking about, right? Wasn't it LinkedIn?
Which one?
The one that you just, this animator that you discovered, wasn't it on LinkedIn, or was it somewhere else?
Multiple sources.
Okay, she was everywhere. So all I know is lately I've been paying a bit more attention to my feed, and it's freaking good. Like I have there's stuff in there. I'm like, wow. Like their algorithms. I mean, first of all, it's obviously a filter compared to Facebook. Facebook is just a bunch of stuff, and you can see some cool stuff on there. But LinkedIn, they're pretty good at zeroing in on what you're specifically interested in. And I've seen stuff on there, and I'm just like, wow. Like actually, wow. And I've, and I engage with a lot of those posts because I'm just so impressed. So I think that you would be crazy if you're really looking to market yourself not to just lean in just there. Start there, because it's already a captive audience that's looking for this kind of information. Recruiters are actively looking there as well. And all it takes is maybe a couple of the JD Hasses out there that's also paying attention to those hot posts. And you get a bunch of people like him that are weighing in and going, wow, really good work. Suddenly there's value there. And, it's, and I'm not saying that you're going to put it out there and immediately you're going to be a success. I think it's going to take time, and the work does have to be good enough to get noticed, but, start putting it out there, and, stop talking about it, stop thinking about it. Just do it. Be like Nike and just do it. Wow, that was crazy. We kind of went on for a while there. You got us talking about Agora.Community in the studio.
This time.
Yeah.
This time went.
5 minutes. We got 5 minutes left of the stream. That's ridiculous. Okay, well, let's make sure that I can at least ask the question that Scott made. I want that pat on my back. I'm Scott. I'm looking for the pat on the back here, buddy. I'm going to do this one just for that. Okay, so let me grab it here.
Yes, Chad. That's exactly. I think. Let me.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is the name.
Oh, how can I?
Yeah. I don't think you can click on it.
I need to copy paste it.
Yeah.
Let me check. Yep, that's exactly the show reel I was talking about.
Here, for everyone who can't see that,
6 months ago. Yep.
I'll leave it up there for a couple seconds if you want to try to type it down feverishly. Actually, I think most of you can probably click on it right there in chat, I guess, depending on where you're. because what's the problem, what we notice, and we keep forgetting this, is that the way that Restream works is when we type something, you all get it, depending on regardless what platform you're on. But the Twitch people aren't seeing the YouTube comments. And so it was funny, Jacob Gardner, it was a couple months ago, he's like, this is an awkward question, but I was looking at the Facebook page or something, and it looked like there was like a really weird one-sided conversation where you guys were just talking to nobody because it just all you see is the Agora community posts, but like no Facebook posts because not many people watch from Facebook. And so, yes, so that's why I like to put up these links, because YouTube does not see this link right now because they're not getting it. Okay, let's get this other one up here and make sure it gets done before we run out of time. So this is from user Bingo Star, and it goes a little like this. I always get drawn into digital arts magazines and the promise of learning something cool, but the tutorials seem to assume you're already skilled, and am I just wasting my money? Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, first of all, digital arts magazine, that still exists? Is that still a thing?
It does. There's a bunch of them that still are publishing, but I agree that they're a dying breed. Most of the stuff is transferred to online. Yeah, I used to belong to a couple of them back in the day, but
I would assume that those are made for professionals. So those tutorials seem to assume that you're already skilled. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me that they will aim for an audience that maybe has a little bit more money in their pocket. So professionals rather than students. So I think you have your answer right there.
Yeah.
Am I just wasting my money?
Depends, I guess.
So. Well, I mean, don't know. How much money do you have to waste?
Yeah,
that's right. A question, because everything is relative.
Absolutely. A waste for somebody is like losing a fortune to another person, which is a drop in the bucket for another person. So it really depends.
Yeah, it depends if it's valuable for you. I mean, if it's something that you like, it's your way to get discipline, and when it arrives, you're like, I'm going to do at least once a month, and this is how you motivate yourself, and in the end, it helps you to improve. Yes, it's a very small investment that is definitely not a waste of money for you. But I think if we think just generally, to come back to the point that we made before, the financial value of knowledge decreased insanely in the last, I would say, at least in the last decade. All of the information is available somewhere. Now, we might argue but the time to find this good information is the problem, and your time is valuable. In this sense, nothing is free. Yes, if you value your time, you need time to find this content. It's one of the things that we try to do with Agora.Community as well, is to gather all this curated content and put it all in a library that is easy to find. But I mean, so tutorials, I think the value of tutorials it has decreased a lot, and is the value of one-on-one feedback that has a lot of value. So I agree. My initial instinct was, yes, it's a waste of money, but actually the real answer is, well, it depends. Is it good for you? Because if that inspires and motivates you and you're improving, then it's good for you. It might not just be good for me.
Yep. Yeah, my there's so much to unpack here, but I think my highest level piece of advice would be just do your homework. At the end of the day, schools, whether they're online, whether they're brick or mortar, they are businesses. You have to keep that in mind. We haven't structured Agora.Community as a business. We didn't. That wasn't the goal. We wanted to structure it in a way that could hopefully one day at least kind of sustain itself. But wasn't like we wanted to suddenly become the next big online school. But a lot of these, but most of the schools, especially in the United States, it's not so much so in Canada, because schools are like colleges and universities are partly run by the government, as opposed to kind of more like a private business in many ways down in the States. And I don't know how they're run in other countries. I'm sure it's varying degrees of both. But basically, at the end of the day, they are looking for customers, and those customers are students. And so they have marketing budgets, and they're going to try to entice students to come to their school. But I happen to know several schools, and I'm not going to name names, that have a reputation for big marketing splurges and making them look like they're the next thing and offering not very good educations. And I know I know this because a lot of those people end up
for real.
I know, crazy, right? It's super crazy to think this, but it's sad because I find that sometimes again, I feel like a lot of American schools are guilty that some of the most expensive ones are the biggest ripoffs because you're paying more money for the worst education. It's not always true. I'm not trying to make a universal sort of connection here, but I have noticed a trend, unfortunately, and that's sad because now I find them coming into my Animate class. I find them rolling in looking for reviews at Agora.Community, and they have these sad stories to tell that they spent thousands of dollars. They got this big debt, and now they don't know what to do because they don't feel like they can get a job. And it's heartbreaking, to be completely honest with you, because now they have these huge debts. Like they might as well just went to med school but they can't even get a freaking job, drawing stick figures. It's stupid. So do your homework. That's my biggest piece of advice. Take a look at who the instructors are. Are they relevant in some way? I would be hesitant to go after any school that has a bunch of instructors that they just have, they've just been teaching and that's all they've been doing for a really long time. This came up in a stream recently. I can't remember where it was, but we talked a little bit about a problem that universities have for the bachelor's programs, because to teach in a bachelor program, you absolutely need to have a master's degree. What animators have master's degrees? So right off the bat, that's a big warning sign for me. Oh, what's happening?
I totally agree about this. That's something that I forgot. But I did ask the question: why am I? Just explain to me, why are all those teachers not been in the industry for so long? Well, they need master degrees, and it's only a certain. I was like, oh,
that's why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then come the rise of online education, because online education, you don't care about this at all.
Just, do you have experience? Can you teach me something? None of these accreditations matter. None of them. No, they don't matter for the instructors. Don't be fooled into thinking that, a master's degree instructor is going to suddenly be able to instill you with better knowledge. That's bullshit, because unless they have a master's degrees in education, meaning they know how to educate really well, but also have a whole other 20 years of experience animating, they're not valuable to me in my mind, and they shouldn't be valuable to you. So just do your homework and think logically about this. Take a look at what you're really buying into, because some of those articles and magazines are legit. Some of those schools are legit. You're going to get your money's worth, and other ones are a bit of a trap. And I don't want to get into naming any names, but.
And I agree, especially with online school. I would definitely choose your instructor. Don't choose your school. I would be like, I like him from Animate, and I like her from Animation Mentor, and I really like her from Anim School. So I'm going to jump from one school to the other. I'm going to have my top 3 instructors, and that's how I'm going to have obviously, if the programs allow you to just pick one class, but if you can, definitely go choose your instructor. Don't choose your school, because at some point there's a level that they all have strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, what I observe is within one school you can have an amazing class and a average class. What's the difference? It's the instructor.
Exactly. And yes, Pam, it's true, I do love to talk. It's true. I have one last question in chat. It's just a random comment. Brent likes to talk. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I can validate it. That's true. I do you have what question? You have wow. Yeah. Lips moving at the same time.
Out of your mouth.
So I like to talk. I'm not always good at it. Do you have time for one last question in chat? There's a really good juicy one here that came in at the end.
Let's go for one.
All right. Yep. Let's do it. So question. What would be the skills to be in a position for a character development early in production? Let me say that again. What would be the skills necessary to be in a position to do character development early in production? Like finding character personalities, etc. Here as a professional senior animator asking.
The skills for specifically character development early in production.
Yeah, I'm curious. Just before, let me just ask a question there really quick so they can maybe chime in while you're answering. Mamba Pen, nice handle, by the way. Just curious, are you in film and television, video games? Give us a little bit of perspective on that, if you don't mind. Go ahead, dude.
When you're, especially when you're in a director or supervision or management position in a studio, there's a lot of things that you discover about artists in general, and one of the things is that they're all different, and you kind of assume that, oh, this and this is fun for everyone. So those are the goodies that I'm going to provide to the team, and you then realize that, oh my god, I'm completely wrong. For me, character development is the thing that by far I preferred on all the project that I was on. And the last movie that I worked on at DreamWorks was the Croods. The beginning, I was in charge of a lot of the creature animation, and just the development at the beginning of taking all of those crazy creature and what is the personality of this one, and how would this one move, and how is this one going to interact with this one. And it was so creative and fun that, it's almost like, holy shit, it's already the end of the day. I need to go back home. I'm eager to come back to tomorrow to continue this. But there are some people that are not comfortable with this open creativity, no barrier, blank page, do whatever you want. They are much more comfortable with, here's your library, here's how those characters are working, how all of this work, and basically now be creative, but you know exactly in what direction, and there's no unknown. There's no anxiety that is coming with not knowing what is the right or wrong solution. So I would say one of the first skills is to be creative and to be comfortable into trying stuff. Some of it is going to work, others is not going to work. You need to be collaborative. You cannot just work in your little thing in the corner, and just when you have one final amazing polished animation, you start to show it around and get feedback. So being creative and being a team player, communicate well, and there are some that are really artisan in the sense that they like to craft something to perfection. Character development is more like, no, let's go fast, let's see what works. Maybe you're going to polish some animation, but mostly it's to find the essence, and this often doesn't require your finger animation to be super polished. But again, all of that, it's not everyone that is comfortable and is interested to deal with that.
I disagree. I think finger animation is everything. It's the cat's meow. It's what defines you as an animator.
That's your pet peeve.
That's just my pet peeve. It actually is. I think one of those. I've always appreciated people that take the time. Like you all know what I'm talking about. You see animations every once in a while. Someone grabs their face, and the interaction with the fingers in the face are just like, holy crap, how? And obviously the answer is many, many hours. I have something I'd like to add to this, and that would be, you have to. So if someone knows where to find this clip really quickly and put it in chat, I would really appreciate it. But a good example of the kind of work you probably want to be putting on your demo reel and just working on yourself are the same kind of things you see teams do for this kind of thing. One of the last ones I remember being really impressive to me was Big Hero 6. If you had seen there was these animation tests that were done for each character, and it was the kind of thing that you would learn in an improv class. Literally, same setting, different characters walking into the same scene. It was like that cafe that the hero's mom ran down on the ground floor. It was a business, and wow, Scott, you are on fire. And in every character there was a, there was a lot of characters in that movie, and they all came in and entered in a way that was very them. It was truly them. This to me is I'm the same with David. I'm a very character driven person. That excites me because I think that being one of the members of the team that gets to develop those characters and to understand them and to do these kind of tests would be a friggin' dream job. But, to get those jobs, you have to think, well, where would I get the skills to really excel at that job? Remember, most animators I know, and these even feature animators, do not take the time and take acting seriously enough. I believe that if you were to really start spending some time and energy taking improv classes and learning the same skills that actors do, you'll be able to think like them. And these are that exercise is like straight out of like an improv playbook. So I think play in the same space and get experience in that area, and then and then essentially transition those skills into an animation position and show that work off in a demo reel, and you're going to get noticed really quickly, and you're going to probably have people tapping you for, but everything David said is also relevant, like being a good communicator, because it's not just enough that you're coming up with it. You need to explain it to other animators so other animators understand the character as well as you do, because otherwise it's worth nothing if it's only locked away in your brain. People need to understand how to emulate that. So communication is another good skill, as is so many other peripheral things. But I think for sure, learn the improv stuff.
I think it's last week or the week before that we talked a little bit about the soft skill that is. Oh yeah, it was last week. And what are the top 3 most important things to become a successful animator? And there was a lot about the soft skill of, if you want to be, successful, people need to want to be around you. If you're a jerk, if you take everything personally, if you have a thin skin, if you're always on the defensive, if you keep everything for yourself, if you are whatever it is. And I would say this is especially true at the beginning of production, when usually is the time to develop those characters, because that's usually a very small team. On big movies, you can ramp up to 40, 50, 60, 80 animators, but in the beginning, it's rarely more than a dozen animators. It means that there's a lot of brainstorming, there's a lot of collaboration, and usually it's directors or supervisor that bring. So if you're someone that they like to be around, you're super creative, meaning that you share a lot of different ideas. You roll with the punches. If your ideas are not accepted, like, okay, well, on to the next thing. What about this idea? And you're just someone that is creative and that they like to be around. That's going to give you a really good chance to be eventually selected to be part of this kind of, because it's a privilege for me to be part of this group, because it's usually a very small core team that start at the beginning, before the entire, because that's usually in a pre-production that everything else starts to, it's still at the ugly baby phase. You don't bring the other 50 animators.
No.
It's not ready yet. So that doesn't happen. I worked on I would say maybe a dozen movie, and I think it happened twice, maybe 3 times, but that's it.
That you got invited early?
Yeah, that I had the chance to be invited early. Why? Because the timing of when I was arriving, where I was in my career, what I could bring on the project. So that's another aspect of it. It's not the skills you need for this position, but it's more the skills just to be invited in this position in the first place.
Yep. Okay, so I see another question rolling in, but we are out of time. I apologize. Kalki.
So
I really
by the way,
this.
Those questions that we don't have the time, those are the ones that make it to the backlog that we then the following weeks have to take time to answer.
Yeah, so don't worry about them not getting answered, because we eventually will get to them when we have because tonight we pulled mostly from the backlog, even though we spent a lot of time talking about Agora.Community, but it was a good chat. I'm a little depressed though, because something didn't happen, and it makes me very sad.
Oh, your light didn't.
My lights did not blink. My lights did not blink. So now I'll be up all night trying to figure that out. Just kidding. But I mean,
what happened with the sound that you could trigger on the side? Oh, crickets. Beautiful. I was hoping more for a sad little piano.
Oh, no. Sad. Yeah, I need to add. I need more
melancholic melody that goes with your, and then we could just slowly zoom in your face as
like the Charlie Brown music.
The sadness.
Yeah, I'll get that loaded. That's good. I need a sound for every occasion, basically, for every emotion. Well, David, thanks for hanging out. As usual, it was a fun Tuesday night, and
always fun.
I will see you on the next stream. Do we have another stream this week before our hours?
Friday. We have a conversation on Friday.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I'll see you then. Have a good one, David. Cheers.
Bye, chat.
Okay, so one last stream before things get crazy. Hopefully we'll see some of you on Friday. Hopefully we'll see many of you online during the 24-hour challenge. I did see another new user show up there towards the end. True Bro, welcome to the community, my friend. Glad to have you. And yes, Grant Warwick is the guest this Friday. That is correct. Thank God for Scott, the omniscient. Yeah, no lights flashing. Still, did it flight? Did it just flash? I didn't notice. I could have. I don't think I did. I'm not that lucky. I got too many lights flashing on the screen just because of my monitor chats flickering. What was I going to say? Other fun little things. Let's see if this works. This is just silly. I set this up just for fun. Does it work? Oh, it totally does. So we actually set up our very first merch store with 24-hour challenge merchandise. If you are so inclined to memorialize the challenge and the occasion, you can find your official swag there. I'll be wearing mine during the challenge. I plan on putting more fun sort of Agora community related things in there over time. Hopefully, a few more before the challenge starts. And there's a good chance that some prizes during door prizes and things like that during the 24-hour challenge are going to come from that pool of merchandise as well. So thank you, chat, for being here. Thank you for the new follows. Always nice to see the community grow. Hopefully we were able to answer some questions for people. It's always nice when someone asks a question that other people can benefit from, because that way, that's kind of the whole point of the community. Like the village should also learn off of one another. So it's please do keep the questions coming. If don't be scared. Just throw it out there. There's no such thing as a dumb question. We will absolutely be happy to try our best to answer it. That's what these Q&A streams are all about. So yeah, please do throw the questions our way. I'm watching chat right now. Yeah, that's it. I was at the 24-hour challenge and all I got was this shirt. That's sometimes very true. And if you don't compete in the challenge, that could be totally you. You could buy a shirt and then only have the shirt to show for it. That's totally it. That's very true. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap things up. I got a bunch of things I got to do before I crash for the night. So again, thanks for being around. Excited to see everybody on Friday, and more importantly, this weekend. It is going to be fun. So you definitely don't want to miss it. You want to show up, when you can. I believe that the schedule is available by this point, so you can always go to the. We have a 24-hour challenge page up on Agora.Community. I don't know if that's already been posted. It might have. If it hasn't, maybe Scott can do us a favor and throw that down. But you could check it out, so that way you know when you should be, earmarking some time in your calendar on this weekend, so that you don't miss the talk that you really would hate to miss. Of course, if you do miss it, and you miss all of it, even eventually, this stuff's going to make its way onto the library. Although, because it's such a long stream, it does take a little longer to go and cut that up and put it in the library. It took like months from the first one to get everything up. So it's it's better to show up live for this one, because unlike these ones, these talks are typically available right away. That being said, we do we do keep the recordings on our Twitch page. I believe Twitch does the full recording, which is interesting. It did the whole 24-hour last year, so I hope that's going to do the same. So if YouTube does not do that, so you won't be able to go there and get the whole stream. But if you miss the stream and I think it's about maybe 15 days or 14 days after the event, it should be available in our VOD section. So you can always just check the whole stream then if you really wanted to. It's just a very big, long video, so it might be hard finding the thing that you want to find. So yeah, Scott already did it. Good, there it is. Agora.Community Ultimate Anim Challenge 2022. That's the official link there in chat. Okay, well, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to see you guys later. Stay animated. Talk to you soon.
Dun.